Hello, Matt Price.
Hello again, Anita.
Yeah, we're going to start properly now.
Yeah, that's right.
Thanks so much for coming along to the Flute to talk about the fact you're coming to the Flute on the 16th of February to headline for us at Dolly Chicken Comedy.
Yes, I am. And do you know what? It's a lovely room and I'm very much looking forward to it. It's very intimate and I'm very happy to be in Cardiff. I always like it.
Yeah, so you lived in Cardiff for a while. What was that all about?
I went to university quite a few years ago now, so I studied philosophy in sort of a building over in that direction, and without wishing to sound too self-deprecating, it was the only place that would have me. So I could have ended up anywhere. So it was fate. However, I liked it. I like Wales very much. I'm at home wherever I am, to be honest with you. But I like Cardiff.
That's a good thing to say if you're coming to Cardiff in mid-February, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. No, I like it.
Me too. Yeah. So was that the start of your? Did your comedy start in Cardiff, or had you already been doing some comedy? I think you're from Cornwall, aren't you?
I am from Cornwall originally, and I left Cardiff and I moved to London, and I kind of dabbled for a bit, moved back to Cardiff. And then me and my friends started a gig on Newport Road in a place called the Yellow Kangaroo, which is a Sunday night, and it was an open mic night with a landlord who was very nice, I will say that, but there's a but. He didn't like swearing, so he would ban people if they swore. You get a 2-week ban if you swore, and he would keep the snooker on if the locals requested it. So because it was quite a difficult and challenging gig, so we didn't know what we were doing, if you timed it right, you could tell a joke and do the punchline in time for when someone potted a ball, and you'd get an applause break from the television. Because the locals, as lovely as they were, and they were lovely, didn't really like the comedy very much.
They like the snooker though.
They liked the snooker very much, and they would be more than willing to tell you where you were going wrong before, during, and after the show. And sometimes you didn't really know when the show started, but it was a good training ground, and I sort of learned how to do comedy there.
I think if you manage it there, you're probably on a good footing, aren't you?
I think so.
With the snooker on in the background.
I think it was a good place to start, and probably at the time it was very intense for me anyway. I can be quite a self-conscious person sometimes, and so weirdly, I get an attack of shyness every now and again, sometimes at the most inconvenient of moments, and there were lots of attacks of shyness. And that manifested itself in different ways. So, I think when you first start out, you don't quite know what you're doing. So I went through a phase of, having my hair out here and wearing a long trench coat and looking at my feet and, talking about Japanese suicide, and they say talk about what you know. Went through my one-liner phase, went through my kind of loud, shouty, up in people's grid phase, and eventually sort of settled for what I do, which is probably a mixture of everything at the moment. But
I was going to say, we're not expecting any of those things then on the 16th of February. Who knows?
I don't know. I'm very much a fan of trying to play the room. When I say trying, because I'm very much aware that you have a lovely regular audience, so I'm very much looking forward to meet, and I feel as though I should talk myself up more. But
go for it.
But I also don't want to, because I think, well, why should I? Come and check it out yourself. The audience, she says, looking down the screen. But so to me, I love it. I love it, and I wouldn't want to do anything else.
But that's always a good
absolutely
thing, isn't it? If you're doing what you really, really love.
And starting there, I think I used to box. I was terrible at boxing, and there's a saying in boxing: it's not why you start, it's why you stay. And there's a parallel between that and stand-up comedy, because the number of young men, and it's usually young men, women box now as well, they're very good at it, but who will go to a boxing gym and think, I want to be a fighter, and then they get punched in the face, and understandably they think, I don't want to do this anymore, and they leave. Well, I stayed for 18 months, and I was terrible at it, awful. I had my eyes closed and knocked somebody down. I have footage of it, but so that's another story. But I think it's the same with stand-up comedy as well. You have this idea of how it'll be, and then you do it. And I remember my first gig, I think, was in London, and 5 minutes after the headliner had been on, in front of 3 people. I'd had more alcohol than anybody should drink before a gig, and looked at my feet, spoke about spiders, and came back. So, I don't even know why I stayed. Sometimes...
I don't even understand why you were on after the headliner.
It was a place called Pear Shaped in Fitzrovia, and that was how they did it. It was a long time ago. It was a very meta experience. It was a great fun. It was a great club, but Paul Foote was in charge of it. He was deputy head of chairs, and it was you had to be there to experience it. The show began as soon as the first person walked in. So he was in character. So you would come in, I remember it was an empty room, and he would say, have you reserved a chair? I'm Paul, deputy head of chairs. And he sat me down on the front row, and 2 people came in, and he said to me, I'm sorry, sir, would you mind moving? And he moved me back. And that was part of the shtick. But he didn't realise that. And then they would put the headliner on, and sometimes if a new act wanted to go on, you would get to do 3 minutes after the headliner. Sometimes there wouldn't be. And I've seen people, they would overrun, and Brian Damage and Crystal, they would take the backdrop down behind, they'd start sweeping up.
You were on stage.
And the act would just carry on anyway, because they were kind of in on the joke.
Yeah.
And then Brian would say, well, I didn't like that last act, you know. So it was a really weird sort of insidery joke thing. Well, it was a lot of fun. It was sort of a fiery baptism, but a lot of fun to do. It was, because it was so ridiculous.
Yeah.
But and I remember thinking, is this the comedy circuit? Is this how it works? You know, but so I think the parallel between boxing or boxers wanting to start and why they stay, it definitely works for comedy.
Yeah. So, and what made you want to do it in the first place? Who are your early influences?
Early influences. Do you know my Uncle Jeff? Probably. My Uncle Jeff was a proper character, and what he would do, he used to like to drink old ale. You know, the weird sort of names ales, and he lived next door to the pub and where the holiday makers were.
Yeah.
And so during the holiday season, he would walk in and he would spend a couple of hours telling a story, and it would literally go on for 2 hours. And he would sit there and he would get to the end of his pint and he'd go, well, I don't know, I'm getting dehydrated now. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to remember the rest of it unless I get some more, you know. And so, no, please allow me. So he would get quite drunk on holiday makers' money.
Yeah.
But one of the things he would do, of course, is he'd just make up a whole load of nonsense, but he would do the weather forecast. And so he would say to them, well, if you ever look out of the window now, when you were going on holiday, you're in luck. So look at the cow lying, all nonsense, the cow's lying down. So it means there's a southwesterly breeze and the pressure coming off the North Atlantic. Of course, he would go into the pub just after he'd watched the weather forecast and he would recite it every day. But they all thought he was a genius.
Wow.
So and that was his hustle. So you know, he wasn't a con man as such, but he never had to buy a beer in the local pub during holiday season, which was probably from sort of, I don't know, April until the end of September. So he was quite drunk, but he spun a great yarn. So he was probably my comedic hero in many respects.
And I know that reading your references and your website, that storytelling is the thing that everyone sort of flags up when they are saying how wonderful you are. He's a great storyteller, brilliant, but criminally funny.
Yes, I think so. I think so. I think that after a while it all melds into one, because you know the people who I like. There's a Canadian comedian called Glenn Wool, who's possibly. I mean, there's so many comedians. If you asked me the same question tomorrow, I would talk about somebody else.
I was going to ask you who you like that's on the circuit now, but that's the next question.
Absolutely. So. Well, he's just a guy who can seemingly do everything. So he can tell a story, he can do sort of biting satire. You know, I'm sure he can interact with the crowd if he wants to as well. But there's lots of layers to what he does. And you know, and that sounds very sort of arty, doesn't it? But it's an art form. So I'll spin a yarn, but you know, I'm not afraid of audience interaction in the best possible way, or I'm telling a joke. You know, I've told a pub joke in an Edinburgh show before because it fitted.
Yeah.
You know, so and anything goes really. But I think storytelling used to be the thing. I would say that in Edinburgh it's different on the circuit. That sometimes I play the room.
Yeah.
I play the room. Sometimes on a Saturday night, it is more like street fighting in the nicest possible way. And I'm very much aware that all I've done is use violent analogies.
There's been a lot about boxing. I mean, we did have a chat before we started, and boxing's a big thing.
It is quite a big thing.
Yeah.
I like football as well. No, I don't. But
you talk about football.
Well, I don't know anything about it.
No, I don't either. I've got no interest whatsoever.
None whatsoever.
No, I've got none in boxing either. But it's interesting to hear what you're saying about the parallels between the two.
There are parallels between the two. There absolutely are. And I could sound very jaded, which I'm not, and very cynical, but I can tell you more about the parallels another time.
Okay, well, maybe we can do that on the night.
Absolutely, why not? Yeah.
So tell me, anyone on the circuit now? You've been around a very long time.
I have, yeah.
Who's really? You've mentioned Paul Foot there. Who's really made you think, oh my gosh, this person has really
Okay.
inspired you or made you excited
Again,
about comedy?
another comedian called Sean Collins.
Okay.
Sean Collins is a Canadian guy. There's not the Canadian comics. They think nothing of driving for 12 hours to a gig. Therefore, it tends to be in the middle of nowhere. Therefore, an audience will sit and listen to them for an hour, however long it is. And so they're used to sitting or standing on stage for a very long time. And so they develop a lot of great material. It's very honed and very polished. And I saw Sean Collins probably in 2006 at the Wharf in Cardiff, actually.
Oh, okay.
And he walked out and he sat down on a stool, and he I can't remember word for word what he said, but the gist of it was, and of course 150 people stood shoulder to shoulder in the round. A few people had seats, and I remember him saying, "So my name's Sean. This is my natural speaking voice. I've been doing this for a very long time." And he sits down on a stool and he says, "Stay with me, because the payoff is worth it." Now bear in mind, Cardiff, love people from Cardiff, right? There's lots of different types of people from Cardiff. However, at the Wharf in Cardiff, a lot of the locals were very quick to tell people exactly what they thought. And there was a sharp intake of breath when Sean said that, but he did an hour and 45 minutes.
Wow.
And he got to the end and he said, "Look, I just have to go for a pee now. That's the
only reason he left.
Yeah, he would possibly still be there now." So, and he is able to take, it just looks like a guy talking. You know, and of course it's beautifully crafted, it's technically brilliant, you know, and yeah, he's an amazing comic. So I look at someone like that, and still do even now, and I think, yeah, you're something special.
Wow.
But,
I'll have to look him up. I haven't heard of him.
he's amazing. But there's lots of people who were great. You know, we work with people all the time who you think, "Oh, you're really, really good at it. It's well done, brilliant."
Yeah.
You know, and it makes you want to be like them. You know, so I see someone who's a political comic, and I think, well, why am I not offering opinions about what's wrong with the world? You know,
it looks so easy, doesn't it, when you see brilliant comics, for whatever genre.
Whatever genre it is.
But yeah,
I should be doing more of that.
Yeah.
And you think, well, I can't. You know.
I think that's exciting about seeing people who are doing things that are. I mean, all comedians who are, you know, at the top of their game. You just think, wow, it looks so easy, and of course it's not. But
no, well, it's easy. Do you know? It's easy when it's going well.
Yeah.
It's when it's not going well that then you do sort of start to second guess yourself a little bit. You can have the swagger on and you can kind of front it out and go, well, you know, this worked yesterday, but deep down for me, I'm thinking, you know, I don't even know if I want to do this anymore. You know, because we're quite fragile.
Oh, I'm surprised that you still get gigs like that. They can't be very often, though.
No, not very often, but you do get, you will get some, and you just have to deal with them, put it into perspective, and just kind of think, oh, it's all right.
Yeah.
You know, there's always Cardiff.
Yeah, there's always Flute and Tangoed on 16th of Feb. That would be a lovely one.
Yeah.
And so you've been, I mentioned a few times that you've been a comedian for a long time. I just wondered whether things about it get easier. Obviously, you get more used to how to interact with the audience, you get more used to maybe controlling the nerves. But I was really interested in whether the writing gets easier and whether you sort of, you get better at writing, or it comes more easily.
I think so, because you get a better understanding of yourself. You know, I think the audience kind of dictate who you are to a certain extent. So, you know, for example, an audience don't like it if I'm too miserable. I don't know why, you see, because it's a weird thing. If someone else, you know, it's a stereotypical trope. If someone else says, you know, my dad died and I realised how much he meant to me, that's pathos. If I do it, they're having a whip round. You know, what's the matter with the guy? Does he need a straitjacket? Where's the nice guy? Where's the nice friendly guy gone? Can he not come back, please? And the same with if you're too aggressive. And I'm not an aggressive guy, but if I shout too much, people are like, hang on, does he not know? Like, he was really charming a minute ago. Why is he gone too? Why is he shouted that? You know, there's no need for that. And it's not that I have no control over what I do, but I view it like singing. You know, you can't. You have your sort of your range of performance. You know, a good singer can sing a cappella. They can, you know, they can plug in a guitar and play it, and they can do it acoustic. And so, but sometimes you get it wrong. Sometimes you hit a note that jars. And of course, as a musician, you can just sort of get people to have a sing song. You can't do that in comedy, but the audience will tell you who you are as a comedian. So you kind of learn that, and you think, well, actually, I have this bit now, and does it really suit me to get this angry with this person in this context? And you start asking yourself as well, so what's it about and what's it really about? And was I depressed, or was I just a little bit bruised?
Yeah.
Because there's a huge difference between the two. And so you learn more what suits you, and in terms of the setup and the punchline and what's serious and what isn't, and what the payoff is and the arc of a show. So you just get a better understanding of what's going to work for you. And there are people who talk about themselves in third person sometimes as well. And it should only be gangster rappers and, once again, heavyweight champion of the world who talks about themselves in third person. But it's really helpful to detach yourself from it and listen back and think to yourself, what was that idiot on about? Talking about yourself. So you do gain a better understanding, and you understand your process as well. And my process, for the most part, is saying it out loud.
Right.
Saying it out loud, and people will go, that's a bit lazy. Why are you not sat there writing it? Well, no, I am writing it. But I'll do it and I'll perform it, and I'll think, well, there's something in that. Then I'll listen back to it, and then I'll write it down and think about the rhythm of it. And then I'll try and Matt Price it. So I did that in third person.
I heard that.
Yeah,
I did hear that.
Yeah,
it was noted.
It was quite smooth, wasn't it? Yeah. But, so yes, you get a better understanding of yourself. Of course, there are times, even all the experience in the world, you can still think, and I've even said it to audiences, I cannot believe that I said that out loud. And it's not the, yeah, that's right, I went there, edgy thing. It can just be, why did I think porcupines were funny? Let's have a poll. And but even doing that, even the way you self-deprecate, it has to be in keeping with who you are. So so I think you learn what works.
So you've got to sort of be comfortable with yourself on the stage type.
Well, I think
feeling,
so.
even if you're being edgy, it's within your own comfort.
And you pick the right words for it. Certain words, my missus is from Glasgow. She can use any swear word she wants. She can.
Sounds different, doesn't it?
Oh, in every possible combination, yeah. She can swear at you with 10 different swear words, and at the end of it, someone will go, "Thank you." They just will. That's how it works. Whereas if I do it, then what do you mean? Why are you swearing at me? So, but it's all about your understanding of yourself, and the same with dealing with hecklers as well. It suits me to kind of go, well, that was an interesting idea. Let's chat.
That's a nice one.
Rather than go, because I don't want to do that, because there's no point, because you can do that, but I'd rather not. Or you do it as you feel it. I'm very much on I sound like a drama graduate. Drama graduates are great, by the way, but I'm very much about feeling and picking up on the energy of people, and I like that. And it's easy to make assumptions about people, but I like to look at people and think, oh, you've got an interesting vibe about you. What's your story? And they'll tell you mostly.
Yeah, you're saying that about drama graduates. There's a lot of people who do comedy have done drama, and I know you said earlier off camera that you did philosophy, and I was just wondering how much what you did at university and the processes, the thought process and everything, does that feed into what you do? Does that help, do you think?
I'll be honest with you, I wanted to do an osophy because ologies seem too common. I worked in a fish factory for a few years and had frozen fish chucked at my head, which is absolutely fine.
Yeah.
And because that was it. So I learned the banter probably from there. I remember the first day, because people would leave every single day at the fish factory, and I remember someone saying to me, right, here's how you're going to survive. And he taught me through how to deal with it. So see that guy over there? He's got a massive forehead. He's going to shout something out. I'm going to insult his mum. Everyone in this room is going to cheer. And that's a philosophy of sorts.
Yeah.
It's pragmatism, really. But no, I did a philosophy degree because I was a mature student. I was going to be a professional skateboarder. That didn't work out.
Wow.
So, and somebody said to me, look, you're not an academic. Well, doing a philosophy degree doesn't make you an academic. But I was in the remedial class at school, so I'd have school with nothing. Wow. So, as a mature student, only 21, but the difference between 18 and 21 can be enormous, right? So you know, those 3 years made a difference. So I came to Cardiff with a point to prove. I thought, well, if I can, you know, if I can study and I can do a philosophy degree, that's impressive.
Wow, that's really impressive.
Yeah, you know,
Gosh.
because it just sounded like a thing. I didn't know.
Well, no, I mean, but if you, to do it late and not to have qualifications and to have been having a different road that you were thinking of, that, well, all of those things.
Yeah.
Gosh,
No,
I feel like there's another interview coming on.
There's probably several.
I'm sure,
Well, he said that because I'm so interested. I'm looking down the camera now, saying to the audience, listen.
Well, listen, we've already spoken before, and I've still got plenty of questions, but I'm really conscious that we've been going for 20 minutes,
Oh, wow.
and I know that you've got a gig tonight.
Yes,
so,
I do indeed.
So I'm just really interested. I think I love. Having chat to comedians before and just finding out why they do it, how they do it, etc., etc.
And we love talking about ourselves, don't we?
Oh, doesn't everyone?
Isn't it weird how
self-obsessed? No, don't you think everyone's like that?
You know,
not the whining.
Maybe a little. Yeah, yes, of course people are. No, absolutely. But that depends on who's asking the questions, of course. You know, you could have got it badly wrong, and it would have ended 19 minutes.
5
ago.
minutes, yeah.
So we're all good.
So let me ask you one last question.
Yes, of course.
What would you advise someone who is starting comedy now? What's your advice?
Okay. Well, I guess in very simple, it's very easy for me to say this, of course. You see, it's easy to be brave with other people's bodies. That's another piece of boxing wisdom. Don't give up. That's it. That's really what it comes down to. Just don't quit. That's it, in a nutshell. You could say, learn to write jokes, learn to preserve your energy, learn to, maybe meditate and center yourself before you go on. Just don't quit. That's it. Don't quit. Nothing else. There isn't any other piece of advice to give anybody. Because anyone who's ever succeeded at anything is the person who hasn't quit, who hasn't given up. And that's what it comes down to. And that's not me, beating around the bush or being all like a politician trying to avoid the question. I could say, get an agent within 18 months or something like that, and then take this approach and this and do this and do this. But no, just don't give up. Do not give up. Because that's the most difficult thing to do. Because that's, if you look, like I said, anything that anyone has ever done. And it's very easy, I think, to give wisdom when you're hugely successful. I'm not saying I'm hugely successful. I've achieved some of the stuff I wanted to do. But that's what it is. Do not give up.
Oh, thank you for that. That's really, really, amazing advice. Really, really great advice. And I like it. I like the fact it's succinct as well, and it's easy to remember.
Yeah, hopefully. Absolutely. Yeah. Write it down. Absolutely. Don't get a tattoo. They're too painful, I've been told.
There's another bit of advice there from you, which is great. So, thank you so much for coming along today, Matt. It's lovely to meet you before the big night.
Yes, absolutely.
So just a quick reminder, the big night is on the 16th. I know I don't even have to remind you because it's highlighted in your diary, obviously.
I will be here, but I'm guessing that for the hardcore fans who have stayed right to the end, they need to know what date it is.
Absolutely, yeah. Let's tell them. So it's the 16th of February at the Flute and Tankard as usual, and we've got opening. We've got Jeff Japers, who was the recipient this year, the winner, should I say, last year of the Musical Comedy Awards.
Great, excellent.
And Jeff's one of our regulars, so
Oh, great.
Yeah, he does he normally sits here, so you meet Jeff.
Oh, brilliant.
We love
Good.
Jeff.
Nice.
And then in the middle we've got Sug Wallace and Coral Halliwell, two brilliant comedians. Yeah. And then headlining is the wonderful Matt Price.
This guy, yeah.
There he is. So really looking forward to it. Thanks so much for coming on tonight. I hope you have a lovely gig, and looking forward to seeing you.
I'll see what I can do, and I look forward to meeting the audience. So hello, lovely people of Dolly Chicken. Come on down. It'll be great to see you. It'll be nice. And I won't give up.
Oh,